Welcome to Overseasoned.
It's only going to take one take.
I actually kicked him out of the restaurant.
Why?
Gotta bitch to someone.
Gotta bitch to somebody, and I'm good to bitch to.
I thought you were from Spain.
Yes, I am.
Oh.
Sí soy.
Gotcha.
Soy chorizo.
Oh, no.
You've gone into Martha Stewart land.
It's good. It's just not live.
Whatever.
Okay.
It's like a scene from Cocoon. Like the sun goes down.
You don't want to get blacklisted.
You know what, Mr. President? Is this what you want? So welcome to Overseasoned.
It's another day in beautiful Bogotá.
And we're at Velvet Studios. At the beautiful Velvet Studios in Bogotá. And it's been a wonderful few days.
I just got here last night, but you've been here a little bit
Well,
longer.
no, I'm just saying it's been a wonderful few days since 4th of July.
Ah, yes.
4th of July just passed. I'm sure everybody had a great time, some grilling, some time off. I personally fell off the deep end and must have eaten at least 7. Oh, I invented something.
You invented something.
I invented something, and I forgot that I wanted to talk to you about it.
Well, now's the time.
Now's the time. So, you know how often people will ask the ridiculous question, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Do we have to?
I
Okay.
just wanted to tell you one thing, okay?
All right.
So, I was gonna be a good boy, for all the listeners out there that don't know, I'm not supposed to be eating gluten, right? I was gonna be a good boy. I was gonna make a really exciting hamburger salad.
Hamburger salad?
Yeah.
What is this?
A hamburger salad is like chopped up iceberg, grilled burger, and then whatever accoutrement you want.
Oh, like I'd had a picture of a chopped burger in a salad.
Yeah,
type thing.
yeah, pretty
but
much.
no, the burger's whole on top of the.
Well, I guess it depends on how you would present it, and I'm pretty sure there's really no way to make a hamburger salad look good, so you might as well just fucking
Might as well just skip the
chop it
burger,
up.
right? Just skip having a burger.
No, what do you mean
have a pork chop or
on
something.
our nation's day of birth? It felt wrong to have anything except for a burger.
A piece of ground meat named after a city in Germany.
Yes,
gotcha.
of course. Yeah. Okay, so even just going outside.
When I have this in France, they called it steak Americain. They crack an egg on top, and that's how you'd have it. You'd have a hamburger with the egg on top for family meal. It's this
Steak
restaurant.
Americain?
They call it steak Americain.
That's what they think of us?
Yeah, I didn't know whether to be insulted or
excited.
Yeah, I was kind of both. I was hungry.
I pretty much, when it comes to French people, only know how to be insulted. Even when they're being nice, I feel insulted. Listen, I went to a wedding in France, which was beautiful.
Let's get to what you invented first.
Okay,
sorry.
so
don't skip over that.
All right, sorry. So let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
4th of July rolls around, and I didn't want to be the only sad soul in our nation that didn't get to have a hamburger.
You run in some circles. Like I thought that this I was going to say lactose. This
Gluten thing
was widespread and very prevalent, but not in the circles that you run in.
No.
Have you ever met another person who can commiserate on your level?
I've met some people that don't eat gluten for sure,
But
they're just not in my
allergic.
They're not in my real. They're not. There's not many. I don't know anybody that I can, let's say, like.
So no.
No, not that
That's
I'm
surprising.
hanging out with.
That's
Everybody
surprising.
eats gluten.
There's probably like a Facebook group or something you guys can talk about things on there. Share recipes.
Share recipes.
Which you're going to tell me about the one you invented.
Well, anyway, so long story short, I walk in to Publix, which is
I keep forgetting you're in Florida. Yes.
Yes,
Publix.
So I go to the supermarket, and just in an instant, I decide, fuck it. I'm going in. See all these happy fucking people walking around in flip-flops with their tank tops on. I know they're about to douse a bunch of charcoal with lighter fluid and grill off.
Get Matchlight. You don't need lighter fluid anymore.
Well, I'm just saying. I just know, I think of 4th of July, and I think of
This is how you picture
burgers.
Americans. Tank tops, flip-flops,
Picture.
kerosene.
I saw them with my own eyes. Yes. This is how I picture them. This is how they are. Anyway, so I'm thinking I deserve my day to be American too. Senor Tony.
Stack it up there on your other identities.
Yes,
This
exactly.
day. Yeah.
On 4th of July, I get to be American too. And I decided, you know what? I'm going in. I'm going to have gluten. And so the first thing I did, you don't understand how exciting this is.
I can.
Okay, so I decide, fuck yeah, I'm having gluten.
Because you do this somewhat often enough.
What do you mean somewhat often?
It's not.
How often?
It's not once every 5 years that you throw caution to the wind.
Once a season, let's say.
Did you have any gluten?
Every 3 months.
Did you go? Was there 3 burgers? Was it?
Oh, I
not
did.
just a taste. It was.
No, it wasn't just a taste. It wasn't just a taste. It was like, when Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots got out of jail. I guarantee you that's what it was like. Okay. So step 1, key lime pie. Got to get a slice of key lime pie, right? That was like...
No, you mean you bought a key lime at Publix or...
I actually got it at Morton's. So I'll tell you all the things I had. But the first conundrum.
So you're in the store, you see all these Americans being Americans, and you choose something to purchase.
Yes.
So you got.
So I decided it was gonna be a classics celebrated 4th of July.
Were you going to a barbecue with a bunch of other people, or
just it was an intimate 4th of July barbecue.
Just yourself and some Martin's potato rolls?
Exactly right.
Oh.
So what I decided was it was Martin's time. And so I went all out. I got beautiful ground beef from Akayushi, which somehow they have it at Publix. It's that Texas ranch that does all the Wagyu, which it's the best ground beef, I think, at least that I have access to.
All right.
So I went there, and then I went to the bread aisle. And whilst in the bread aisle, I'm looking, and I'm like seeing Stroman's, I'm seeing Wonder Bread, and I'm like, what the fuck? Are they sold out? Because it doesn't, if you're gonna go, you want to go hard.
Yeah.
You want the gold tar Moroccan. You don't want just street black. You know what I mean? You want the good stuff.
Connoisseur.
Yeah, you want the. So I'm looking. Where's the Martin's roll? Finally, I see them, and it's the one part of the bread aisle that's thinning out. Because who wants the Italian? Amoroso's is not really selling on 4th of July, right? It's Martin's. Martin's is the only, and that was the only thing I wanted. So I walk over, and then I notice that there's essentially, I hadn't realized that the decision is a tough one to make when it was just,
you've already made the decision to get.
I decided I was going, but I also I didn't want to
commit to too many different varieties of Martin's buns. Okay.
That's correct. I wanted to make the right choice. So, how
many different? They got hot dog buns, sliced bread,
yeah.
and
So they have
hamburger rolls.
They have hot dog buns.
Yeah.
They have the hamburger rolls. They have dinner rolls now, or they're like slider rolls. They're like the size of the King's Hawaiians ones.
Okay. Which is another fantastic choice.
Yes.
If available.
Yes, I agree. And then they have they call them big buns or something. They have like a fatter burger bun with the sesame seed.
Yeah, that's what I would go for.
Well, that's what I usually go for. Is the sesame seed one. But then I had an existential crisis. You could have probably seen my face changing as I'm trying to process how much fun I'm allowed to have during my gluten intake. And I'm like, should I get the hot dog buns? No. You know what I mean? Because I also, by the way, got restaurant style Nathan's hot dogs. Not quite sure what makes it.
Was it a different size?
I think it was a little bit larger of a size. My mouth's watering again. I'm such a fucking beast. Anyway, so
We just
thinking
had
about
like
this.
a dinner with like 5-course lunch.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I decided
Not hot dogs though.
I decided Nathan's are fucking bomb too. So I decided to get just the normal Martin's rolls, right? Which not the seeded ones, not the hot dog buns, not the slider dinner rolls. I got the normal ones. And I've been buying before. I was going so when I didn't quite appreciate how lucky I was to be eating gluten and slowly destroying my innards, I would always just go for the big buns. This time I went for the smaller ones.
Why?
Because I didn't know if it would fulfill, like, there's something about a Martin's roll. I just wanted to go as classic as possible.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And I just wanted the sweet potato goodness. So anyway, made some awesome burgers, made some wings, grilled wings, and also made hot dogs. But I didn't buy hot dog buns. So it was in this moment that it dawned on me that I had invented the hot dog sandwich. Because since I didn't have a hot dog bun, I beautifully sliced it on a bias. I want to give myself a...
You sliced it on a bias, not
So
lengthwise.
Yeah, right. Because then it would just be two long ass pieces of dog. So I slow roasted the dog on the top level. It was like glistening and like starting to sweat. And I pulled them off perfectly. Right when one of the end caps of the dog just started to split and the juice was going, I pulled it, right? Let that dog rest. And then when it was at the appropriate temperature, I
You
sliced.
have to let hot dogs rest. Go ahead.
So yeah, but dude, this was like a thing from you know how many sad Chicago O'Hare Airport hot dogs I've eaten off of the bun, like a leper. I'm the one guy who's like in the airport and like has to try and push all of the stuff that's on the hot dog bun into my mouth into like a uniform bite. And then I'm left with this like beautiful seeded poppy seed bun. So I was just so excited. Anyway, so I got the hot dog, sliced it on a bias.
On a bias. Wait, what do you mean?
Like the dog itself, let's say, is like, you know, if you're looking at the dog, I sliced it. What? I don't understand. What you don't see. This is how unexcited you are about hot dogs. You like to fucking throw hot dogs away in your house.
You're slicing it, so you're just cutting it into two pieces.
I sliced it into two pieces.
Okay.
But
On
with a little
diagonal.
angle.
Gotcha.
Yes. And long story short, when you slice it like that, it perfectly fills the normal Martin's burger roll. And when I looked at it,
So how many? We take two
one
dogs.
One dog sliced down the center on a little bit of a bias. And then
I find that surprising. I can't picture that. I feel like it would take like at least 3 halves, but I trust you.
no, it was perfect. And I hooked it up with all of my favorite things, which is French's mustard, which I had to buy the French's mustard. And real quick, I just gotta say, Heinz, you gotta get out of the mustard space. Just why? Why are you? Anyway, so French's
What
mustard.
kind of mustard do they have? What's Heinz mustard?
Heinz makes yellow mustard, and it's like
yes, of
French's
course.
doesn't make ketchup, or
Right.
do they?
Maybe.
Anyway, stay in your lane, kind of thing. But long story short, the relish, little beautiful chopped white onion, and the yellow
Same
mustard.
hot dog condiments you put on there.
Dude, it was so fun. Allow me to show you, my friend.
So it was a hot dog. It was a reconstructed hot dog sandwich.
it was.
That looks
Do you
great.
see that?
Yeah, that looks great.
It was fucking awesome. And that, ladies and gentlemen, if you can see this,
Is a hot dog
is a
sandwich.
hot dog sandwich. So no, a hot dog is not a sandwich.
It wasn't like rolling around.
No, dude, it hung out in there perfectly. It was delicious.
I would have probably cut it into planks, kind of, right? Like cut it down the middle so that it could sit flat on the bun.
Honestly, the distribution
It's
of
not a bad first iteration, but I think we can work on it.
the distribution of dog to bread I was really happy with it. Anyway, so happy 4th of July to all. It was a great time for me. I got to eat some Martin's rolls,
Burger and a hot dog sandwich.
a burger, a hot dog sandwich, and then on the next day, there's one more thing that I feel like is just so necessary. I don't know why for me, with a Martin's roll. Mm-hmm. And so I had smoked turkey breast with mayonnaise. Just like a couple slices of turkey breast on a roll with mayonnaise. And I don't know why, but there's something about all that together.
Just works for you.
It was so
Simple,
damn good.
Mayo.
Yes.
Smoked turkey breast.
Smoked turkey breast, mayo, a little cracked pepper.
Oh, now we're adding.
And that's it.
Now
That's
we're-
it. That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it. That's it. It was so
No
good.
Maldon sea salt on there. No slightly
no.
toasted Martin's bread.
I just wanted to feel like a normal human again, and it felt really.
So you went for the hot dog, you went for the burger, and you went for the turkey sandwich.
That's
let's
it.
say. All right.
That's all I needed.
Cool.
And then
Until
I gave
next
the rest of the buns
4th
away.
of July.
Until next 4th of July. Correct.
Fantastic. I'm happy
It was
for
awesome.
you. Did you pay for it?
I mean, I don't know if the lethargy came from,
Yeah.
eating gluten.
What did you drink with that? Something like that.
I had Bachelet Monod,
That sounds
Bourgogne
fancy.
Blanc.
Oh.
Really great producer. 2 brothers, I think.
You were saying that you went deep into the Burgundy.
I've been going deep into Burgundy, and I don't want to bore you with where that's gone. But yes, I've been deep into Burgundy, and I had what's more American than some white Burgundy
And a hot dog
and
sandwich.
a hot dog sandwich. Exactly. Exactly. But anyway, we celebrated a great Independence Day, and obviously there's the election season's coming up, and things are
yes.
heating up. And it was a pretty wild. Pennsylvania got wild this past week, and I figured, just like all the media outlets are saying, it's time for us to tone it down and to bring a little more diplomacy into our day to day. What do you think? I mean, like,
Sure.
I feel very fortunate and happy to be American, and I feel very fortunate and happy to be a restaurant person. And I think today maybe we should explore burying the hatchet between the front of the house and the back of the house. And I wanted, Tony and I thought as a team that we're going to do our part in bringing our nation, our restaurant nation, together.
The front of the house is going to do its part?
What? No.
No?
Front of the house does everything.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you and let's move on.
Oh, so so the front of the house has to do its part, and the back of the house already is doing its part.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Listen, I think there's a couple problems. Maybe we should touch on the problems first, because there's no way to really understand each other unless we can isolate what we're trying to fix. No?
Sure. That
All
makes
right.
sense.
I think the only problem here, there's 2 major problems that I'll isolate from my side. Let's see what you think. First, money. It's a horrible sticking point, and I feel like all things being equal, if money was pulled out of the equation, the front of the house and the back of the house would be a lot cooler with each other. What say you?
It's a tough one because go work in the front of the house if you want that.
Okay.
It's just different personalities,
Okay.
trying to coexist in a business where they might not generally typically work together.
Okay.
It's a different world, front of the house, back of the house. Satisfying different sides of the machine.
Yeah. Without even necessarily, let's say, wanting to, I feel like a lot of the restaurant industry's back of the house team members are in it for the learning, the appreciation, the development of the craft. Otherwise. They might be in jail otherwise. Right. They might actually be in jail. Period.
Kinda.
Right? They already are in jail. It just happens to be one where they're peeling onions.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the back of the house staffers go into it because they love food, of course, and because they love just the whole, let's call it the whole experience of cooking and stuff. But maybe they're not told enough, or there's not education enough from the culinary institutions or just the world at large, letting them know that they're probably signing up for maybe more hours. I don't want to say harder work yet, but more hours and less pay.
Yeah. I mean, you don't, pay a bunch of money for a culinary school to get out and go make salads for whatever minimum wage is these days. It's tough. It's a little bit of a little bit of the rug pulled out from under you if you're going that route.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I mean, look, I would be pretty upset if I went to a culinary school, learned all of a bunch of techniques and stuff, and then all I'm doing is, peeling potatoes. I mean, did you how about when you were coming up?
No, culinary school, they give you like a little bit of a first blush at all that stuff, but you need to actually get in there and do it. It's like any school. They're teaching you the words you need to use to understand what they're telling you what to do, but you still need to go and do that thing.
Yeah.
You
got to experience it yourself.
So you make this thing once doesn't make you an expert on making it, right? Just means you know the ingredients involved, and then you could move on. And
well, according to most of the diners that I know, the fact that they've watched Top Chef once or twice makes them experts, Tony.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You've never heard this? I would have appreciated this with a little bit more of maybe a little more reduction on the sauce.
Yeah, I know. I've had a few of those, and I've had a few instances where the diner will say something about, I don't know, the soft shell crab not being crispy enough, but it wasn't a fried item. They wanted a different item. I'm just pulling something randomly out of air. And writing on a comment card about the recipe we should use. It's like, are they looking for a job?
Or, maybe that's what it is.
Or just take down their birthday, and throw it away. And that's what that's for. It's not to tell you how to cook a soft shell crab. But definitely I could see how some diners could be a little bit preachy when it comes to that, due to the prevalence of all these cooking shows.
Yeah, understood. All right, so we touched on the first thing, which is money, right?
I don't...
Let's say you remove money from the equation. Do you think back of the house and front of the house all of a sudden becomes homies?
I think it's different personality. Back of the house and front of the house are often homies,
I agree. Look,
but it's a very high pressure environment where everyone needs different things all at once, right?
Yeah.
But the front of the house plays their own games.
Of course they do.
Like, I think that one thing that the front of the house could definitely not do is, what do they call it when they just kind of take 5 orders, 6 orders at once?
Oh.
And then put them all in the machine at the same time.
Right.
So the machine just starts going crazy. Instead of taking an order, going to the machine, entering it, going in, like spacing it out a little bit.
Got it. So
every week we'd say this Friday, like, please don't do that. Every week they do the same thing, and the ticket machine would just be going crazy.
Spread your orders instead of smashing us.
Yeah, spread your orders out so that the fifth order. By the time we've taken that fifth order, the first one was taken 50 minutes earlier. They're ready for their food now. Everything's a rush, fire, but they could have done their part to,
spread
it out, move things along, so the diner doesn't perceive their order as being in and working on.
I understand. Early. Got it.
Does that happen?
Well, here's the issue, and it's become more and more of a problem that when you're fighting for the diner,
Tips.
well, not The tips. When you're fighting for, look, let's just call any random city, Sarasota, right? That's where I spend a lot of time now. If you're in Sarasota, there's essentially like a 2-hour dining window, and I'm sure that the service staff, if I as a server would rather have a table at 5:30 than a table at 5:45, than a table at 6 and all that. But it's really hard unless you're working at a place like Zahav, right, where it's just packed as soon as it opens and everything's just bonkers. Or Park, right? Like those kinds of restaurants, they can finagle a little bit more of a spread of the orders. But the problem is a place that gets one big rush. That's how.
How can they finagle more of a spread of the orders?
Well, for example, like if I'm a hot restaurant in town, right, and everybody wants to eat at my place, I can sell you a 5:30 table. If I'm just a normal restaurant.
But it's busy. It's full no matter what. I'm just talking about you have your section of 10 tables ish.
Yep.
Going from table to table and taking the orders without going back to the machine to put the order in.
Well,
so that the kitchen can be paced out.
I know
in a time.
It's honestly it's one of those things where look. I mean, yes.
So it's not possible. So we're not. This is where this whole effort
we're
dies on the vine.
We're
right
already
here.
Yeah. We're already starting.
Well,
yeah.
So be it.
Look, I think it's a great point you bring up. Spread out your orders. I think it makes a lot of sense. Look, I think what's interesting though, Tony, is it's not just the kitchen that feels this. The service bartenders feel the same exact thing. Because let's say a server gets a table of 8.
I'm not concerned with the service bartenders. I'm concerned with the kitchen right now.
Okay, got it.
You asked me to come up with something the front of the house can do.
Understood.
I'm saying this is something that they could do, and you're saying not possible.
I'm not saying not possible. I think that I'm willing to take this to the table for the front. I'm willing to bring this.
It's not going to happen.
I think it can.
Oh.
I think it
willing
can.
to take it to you mean you're willing to bring it up for a vote?
I'm going to bring it. Yes, I'm going to bring it to the circle of trust.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, understood. Well, I have.
Couldn't you just like hand it off to somebody to go into like some kind of mechanism?
That brings an interesting point up because you're not wrong. Yeah, I think. But by that token, couldn't you just pull somebody off of the garde-manger to help roast when they're getting their asses kicked?
No.
Because the salad makers aren't good enough?
No, I mean, is it about like, no, well, that's a different skill, but they're just taking orders to enter into machines so that it can be spaced out. So everyone, would it cut too deeply into your tips?
No, it's honestly, I think it's a good idea. I think it makes sense. And there could be ways to do that.
Okay,
yes,
cool. Wow,
there could be.
We're making some progress here.
I feel good about this.
Cool. What's one of yours?
So I think that the back of the house should spend one shift, maybe monthly, or it could be seasonally, or it could just be one shift before they actually are in the back of the house. You know what I mean? And I think that they should do the setup. They should work a shift in the front of the house.
Oh, with it just doing setup or
doing setup, being tableside,
interacting with the guests. You want the chefs, the cooks, interacting with the guests.
You know,
it's not their skill.
Right?
It's not.
Right, and I'm not saying that it's not necessarily to lead.
I could see being a busser or something like that.
Okay.
Like just getting the understanding of the cadence and clearing.
Dude,
it's
honestly,
still hard. Everything is hard work in a restaurant.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, even just like clearing a large table is tough.
And not turning into a mess by the end of the.
Yeah. Well,
right?
not turning
Staying
into a mess
presentable,
or like you're clearing.
Being polite.
Let me give you one. Here's inevitably what happens. So let's say you have we'll just keep it simple. Table of 4. It's time they're done their appetizers, right? And let's say entrees are about to come out. And you start to clear the table and you're like, hey, would you like to keep your bread? Would you like to not keep your bread? One person says, oh, I'll keep bread. Cool. So you keep bread on their side, whatever. And then somebody says, hey, I'm going to save that scallop for later. You're like, okay, I got you. So you're clearing 4 plates plus bread, and you got to remember which one has to go into a to-go container. Right?
So say more than one person had scallops and there's scallops left.
Right. You have to remember whose stuff is going to go. And then you've got to also, so you got to clear the table. And then at the same time, let's say like an older gentleman is like going through the dining room. You can't just like, woof, like turn around and like head back to the kitchen to wrap your stuff up. You have to constantly be aware of what's happening in this dining room. Because I think that's one thing that the back of the house may not appreciate is how constantly hyper aware you have to be of what's happening in your space so that you don't run over an old lady or you don't run into the food runners who are bringing your, a next round of food. Because I know you guys have tight space, but usually it's your section. It's like your little area.
Yeah, kind of. I think that restaurant work in general
requires, yes,
you're
awareness.
coming around corners. You really have a certain kind of a deft footwork that everyone in there is doing, right? For one reason or another. Different reasons, but you still have to be kind of light and nimble.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Aware of your surroundings is
Yes.
definitely a big part of it.
Right. But let's say, for example,
You just can be meaner about it in the kitchen. Like if
well,
somebody
you can be meaner about it.
upon
And
your space.
God forbid you run into somebody in the kitchen. It's the same team, right? You're not running into a guest or you're not running you're not dropping a bunch of onion stock on like a guest that's wearing a suit. And, I can't tell you how many countless dry cleaning bills I've had to do because fucking hollandaise sauce just, decides to jump off the plate, when you're doing a clear or whatever. So I think, and another thing that I think the back of the house.
So back of the house doing a shift as somewhere in
like
the front
stage,
of the house.
some sort of stage.
Somewhere in the stage, like doing setups, understanding the flow.
Listening to what's going on. Maybe even they should put it in order into the POS.
I think that would be very helpful.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just for appreciation of what's going on, right? Because we could all be better at empathizing with each other.
Of course.
That I will say.
And you could live in your space. You can choose which way you want to go then and not understand that everybody has it pretty difficult when it comes down to it.
Everybody does, right? So that's what I would. And another thing I think that people don't appreciate in the back of the house is how much work goes into the front of the house setup, right? Now I know you guys do a bunch of prep and you have a huge list.
Why can you show up an hour before the doors open? Then,
it's not
if it's
that,
so much work,
right? It's and some people do. It's more that like. Let's say you have a table of 12 or of 15. You got to undo the dining room. You got to move all the plateware around.
Yeah, you were saying this before. Like, so it's not just putting forks on the table.
Right.
It's, okay, this is what
Go
we have going on
downstairs
tonight.
and grab those big ass fucking wooden tables.
Right.
Bring them upstairs. And then as soon as this one's done at 7:30, I need you to flip it for an individual foretop. It's the owner of the blah, blah, blahs.
Right.
And we need this table back. And it's just pressure, right? But it's a lot of manual labor.
I think the hardest thing is all that manual labor you have to do in the front of the house and still look presentable
Yes,
to
it sucks.
the guests.
Honestly, it's the one thing about being a som that I hated was delivery days. Like you get a pallet. I used to get pallets of wine multiple times a week, but I'm expected to be in a suit. So
But do you have to be in a suit? Can't you show up in sweats or whatever?
you can show up in sweats and then change or whatever. This is my particular quirk. Once I sweat, I don't want to dirty up another thing.
Oh, you need a shower in between changing clothes. You could just use these new like wipies you have.
I know. They're pretty great. Still feeling oily. But anyway, so I agree with you. We should stop sending all our orders at once. I think it's selfish. I think we can do a better time of spacing it. I think that as a service staff in general, we should know we can do a better job of asking questions like, hey, what do you got going on tonight? Any plans after dinner? Are you in a rush because you're going to a show or you want to take your time? And then based on the rapport we build with the guest, we can figure out who needs, a little bit more, let's say, whose pace.
Speed her up or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I'm with you.
I think just on that note, just being a little bit like, and has a lot to do with like the back of the house as well, just like constantly being upset at everything, but just fostering the communication on what kind of stuff is going on, because it seems like invariably it leads to everybody's in a rush all the time just to get the food out as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Instead of, these people really have something to do. It's kind of like crying wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's like as much as you plan and you plan and you plan and you plan, it always gets fucked up.
Of course.
It always gets fucked up. You're like, hey guys, tonight, we changed the garnish on the miso bass. It's red pepper, whatever. And then nobody listens. They're like, it's just something always gets fucked up.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll take that to the delegation. You're saying we got to spread out our orders, and I agree.
Great. And you are saying back of the house should do a shift or two, or on some kind of continuing basis in the front of the house. What about vice versa?
Yeah, I think that would be pretty helpful and eye opening. I actually just went to Burns Steakhouse, like last week anyway, this beautiful, classic, old school steakhouse in Tampa. It's been there since the 50s, and it's an iconic place. And there's a lot of like stories and, let's say, urban myth and legend, some of which actually happens to be true, about the training that the front of the house has to go through. It includes like multiple month training that they have to do on each station within the restaurant. Huh. So this
it's like culinary school, right? You have to go through, do pastry, do everything until kind of figure out where you want to live.
Right. And so they have this tie system at this place. There's like silver ties and gold ties and red
that they
ties.
Actually wear.
Yes, on the dining room floor. And then based on the tie, their level of, let's say, like how many different stations they've trained on, how many years they've worked in, their understanding of the wine list, if they've done the butchering and stuff. And I think the highest level is a gold tie. And those people, I think, have all worked stations, have made every dressing, have made every sauce, and they're like the pinnacle of the experience from the front of the house. And it was a pretty cool thing to hear, because, they obviously, you can't build that overnight. That's something where the money's good enough that a front of the houser...
Also kind of like psychologically gamifying it.
Yeah.
I think people
I think it's cool.
Strive to get that silver tie, then whatever. It's
right.
Like karate, right?
Yeah.
So you get to have this badge of honor as you go through the ranks.
I
wonder if they do anything in the kitchen.
I don't know. But let me ask you, as a chef, if let's say the GM and you had put together this whole training program were based on expertise and experience on different stations and stuff, different team members from the front of the house had like levels of seniority based on the stations of the back of the house they learned and prep or whatever. Do you think that would garner more respect mutually, and that the back of the house would be like, oh, he's a badass, he has done all that, whatever? Like,
sure. Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Why not? I just wonder is the kitchen just, it must be this, like, do you end up with a gold tie in the dining room, or can you also end up with a gold toque or neckerchief or whatever in the back of the house?
Oh, right.
So is the path, is it two-pronged, or is it just
I think
start
it
in the
be.
kitchen and go up to the restaurant,
I think
up to the dining room?
But
it could be, because you're drawn to different things.
But could you shoot yourself in the foot if all of a sudden your best broiler cook, who can handle 1,000 covers on a Friday, is like, damn, this motherfucker just made $400 on one table, and he's like, I want to be a server, guys. I've decided.
This is like you said, this takes some time, right?
Yeah.
And if money's going to win. Who's ever like selling the most? Is that what you said? They're going to be selling on the dining room floor. They're a great boiler
if they
cook.
see like somebody,
But because they're a great boiler cook, might be how they're such a great whatever
whatever they turn into.
Right?
Sure,
because they're selling those steaks
maybe
like crazy.
There needs
They
to be
can
more
speak to it.
reciprocal. A more fluid back and forth between the front and back.
I would love that. I think we've tried that several times in the past. It kind of has varying degrees of success. Usually we would have students come through and whatever the time frame was, 6 months in the back, 6 months in the front, and then they'd go off and kind of decide which way they wanted to actually pursue, right?
And would in most...
Eventually you got to land somewhere, right? And the goal isn't always to be a captain with a gold tie, necessarily. There's... wine directors and people are happy being the
saucier.
runner, right? Or the saucier, right? That's where your passion is.
Right.
But I guess you could still go through all those you still run through everything. You could end up where you want to end up and still have that level of I don't know what to call it, the badge.
Sure, right. Like a certification or whatever it is.
Call it the gold tie garmager.
Okay.
If you've run through everything and decide you still want to like make terrains.
The golden towel.
Sure. But that could be where I could see that.
Okay. So
as long as the pay is commensurate, right?
Right.
That's where it comes down.
It all comes. Well, it comes down to money, and then the other
some kind of pooled effort, right?
Look, I think in a utopian society, a pulled tip situation would be pretty awesome.
We've talked about this. Oh, you mean pooled between the back and front?
Well, yeah, something.
I agree with you, but there's a lot of different technicalities in there. Like everyone would have to make the same wage, same base salary, and then have some kind of hierarchy of however many points you get off the total.
Tipping destroys it all.
It does.
Tipping destroys it all.
Then it's like you don't want that person who's coming to take the order to put it into the machine. You want to do it ourselves because they're getting 2 points on the tips. And
then the other thing too is
you don't
to
want
be quite honest,
add another person to the dining room who could enable you guys to manage it better
and cut back the tips.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like every single person in the dining room has a different style of. I mean, you always try and train the front of the house to have consistency in how they take their orders, but it doesn't happen. In other words, for example, like somebody might write MR for medium rare. Somebody might write FM for filet mignon. Another person might write out filet and put, whatever. Like
Who's still using handwritten dupes though?
Well, look, I always.
Or they could write what they want to write. They put it in the machine.
No. It's not handwritten dupes that are going back to the kitchen, but they're the dupes. They're the handwritten order that you then go into the POS and type in, so it gets organized back on a ticket.
Right. So they can write whatever they want, whatever kind of shorthand they'd like to use.
But what I'm saying is if you're a server and you do your shorthand order and then hand it off to somebody, there has to be a lot of consistency in how that order is taken.
That person would quickly figure out who means what when.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing that I know is a big point of contention is in times. Now, just as an example, the pastry chef or the baker is coming in at 6 a.m.
Yeah, the pastry chef could come in pretty late too.
And the pastry chef could be coming in pretty late because they're the last ones out.
Yeah.
So I think there's a point of contention in the number of hours that the back of the house usually has to work in comparison with the front of the house, which usually can come in, set up, and be ready. There isn't like this hours-long prep and all this that goes into making sauces and goes into breaking down orders and all the other things that the back of the house has to do.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And I don't know how to fix that. Because, you can't make sauce in a half hour.
No. Well, you have 2 shifts, kind of depending on what's going on. You split stuff up over a few days. I think that I haven't experienced this myself because it was never part of my restaurant life, but I feel like things are getting better in some places about that.
Yeah.
My answer is usually to trim down the menu a little bit. I've been I've often thought that menus could be simpler.
Yes, I agree.
Right? And that solves a lot of the restaurant.
I agree.
staffing, hiring,
I
training
think
issues?
The most recent one that you had described was In-N-Out. How like beautifully,
Burgers?
that beautifully efficient menu and offerings.
Yeah, it's great.
I got another one for you. The delegates actually just wrote to me and they brought up another thing that they would like me to
Have I brought
present.
up Brushland Eating House with you? This place in upstate New York
Brushland Eating House?
does a set menu. Like that's it for they're open 3-4 days a week.
Okay.
Set menu. It's perfect. And
You love this restaurant?
I love it. It's awesome. I don't get there often, but
And so tell me an example of like what they might serve. Is it always like a first, a main, and then a dessert kind of thing?
I think there's like an hors d'oeuvre with some kind of cocktail,
Okay.
like some kind of old school kind of punch type cocktail.
That's cool.
I'm going to flub this a little bit. I can't quite remember, but there'd be an appetizer, kind of served family style. So the salad and the main and the
that.
stuff would kind of all come together. It's fantastic. It's
love
what we've been
that.
talking about forever, honestly.
Yeah, it sounds like the best restaurant for cool people. Because the uncool
and it's
people.
way out in the sticks of the Catskills.
That's cool.
And I think they were kind of like had to resort to this kind of style during the pandemic. Or I'm so fucking sick of talking about the pandemic, honestly. But it was this thing that shook things up.
They wanted to make things simpler for the back of the house and probably for the front
But they
of the
are
house.
the back of the house and the front of the house. It's like three guys. What's
Oh,
what we
that's
talked
awesome.
about? It's
Got
like
it.
a couple, husband, wife team, and like another guy working in the
crush
back
it.
of the house. And they crush it,
That's the way to do it.
you know, because they can.
Honestly, that's how the majority of European restaurants are. And that's why they're successful.
And we saw in Japan, same thing.
Yes.
Simple menus. We've been beating this old drum horse for too long. But anyway, what was I talking about with that? Why did I go there?
Simplicity of menu.
Simplicity of menu. Oh, I think that could really help the time in. I think
Have you ever worked with a Greek restaurant menu?
Well, we're going to get into the diner question on a subsequent episode.
Yeah, because pretty much all those people that I've ever met never think taking something away
Yeah, no.
is the answer.
It's they're just constantly adding. But I think that, well, I know that many times kitchen workers can be their own worst enemy when it comes to adding things instead of subtracting things.
Yes, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Dishes can become overly complex and nuanced for what the
Without the
diner
need.
expects, wants, needs, or cares about
Yeah.
all the time. So you could simplify things, do them better in a way with more attention and
Yeah.
care. We're pre-wired to just not stop moving.
Yeah.
And to just kind of overcomplicate things in a lot of ways. Adding things to the menu. We need a beef and a lamb and a braised item and a chicken and a seafood and a fish and a this. And it's like, why?
And beets are in season now.
Go for it.
The delegation has brought up another one that they thought would be really
Delegation of...
the delegation of front of the housers.
Oh,
My constituents.
You've gotten a tweet.
Yes.
Okay.
The front of the house as a whole feels that the back of the house could really increase diplomacy with the front of the house by handling the food complaints themselves. And I listen.
Well, look, it's not always... I would say, if I had to guess, I would say the majority of the time it's something the kitchen fucked up. But sometimes you just don't take
Listen.
the order correctly. Sometimes
Sure.
they don't know what temperatures are. Sometimes...
Listen, sometimes the babysitter quit and somebody didn't get the promotion they wanted. And, you know,
But you guys are good at managing those things at the table. I think you're much better at managing them at the table than you are when you have to take that plate back. Right? You've gotten it down. Like, you know how to manage the table, throw them some extra desserts, make sure they're happy, get
you
them
don't
something.
think that I am tiptoeing my way back into the kitchen trying to figure out how to deliver this message that there
And invariably,
is-
you're making a bunch of shit up.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah. I understand that, and I think that's something that the back of the house could get much better at, swallowing their pride and just saying yes. Not digging around on the plate to see if that steak actually was mid-rare or medium. Just fucking get it going. Make another one.
My favorite was when I would walk up to a chef. They'd be like, I don't need a fucking story. What do you need? I need another strip steak mid-rare, please. What the fuck happened? Well, it turns out that this one's too charred for the lady and blah. Ring it up. Okay, but everybody else is eating. I need this right now. Well, did you tell her what a mid-rare steak is? And then it's like, it goes from, I don't want to hear the story. What do you need? Get the fuck out of my face. To, I need to understand why this happened. To, and inevitably, in many cases, there's an extra 5 minutes of interaction that never needed to happen.
Yeah, I think that I personally have been pretty good about that.
Okay.
But I understand completely the personality of that.
And listen,
I've seen it. I've seen it happen over and over again.
Listen, sometimes it's nobody's fault.
Exactly. Well,
and it's just a fucking asshole.
And we just gotta
table.
We just gotta get through the night. You just gotta spike that dupe and move on.
Right.
Who cares?
Spike that dupe.
I always just wanted to make sure that it was rung up so my food cost wasn't fucked up.
I agree.
So don't just swap it out and give them another one.
I agree.
Void it out, ring it up, whatever.
So one time we had a spicy chef at one of the restaurants I worked at.
What style of restaurant was it?
The only one I've ever worked in. Fucking steakhouses. God, I'm such a fucking joke. But anyway. So we had a spicy chef.
Uh-huh.
And the kitchen, it was like a brand new opening. The kitchen was fucking up some shit. And there was a lot of fucked up temperatures on steaks. So I got my ass reamed out a couple of times.
By the diners.
And then I'm going back into the kitchen because we had this whole thing, right? If there's a mess up on a steak, you got to write it on a ticket, then you got to bring it back to the fucking chef, then the chef's going to fucking let you know what happens next, and then try to time it out. And so we had a handwritten dupe that would...
CSI investigation.
Bro, it was a fucking... Yes, exactly.
Grill 20 extra steaks to medium, rare, and go for it.
Exactly.
Right? Get through the shift.
Yeah, sandbagging for success.
Sandbagging for success. Yeah, what? You wouldn't tell me what that was about, but we'll get into it.
Okay. So,
but I agree with you in general.
Yeah.
Sandbag.
It's okay to have a couple pre-seared things.
Yes.
You should. Anyway, so this fucking guy, dude, was on fire.
The chef.
When you ever watch, it's Shark Week right now.
Okay.
Do you ever watch Shark Week on Discovery Channel?
No.
Okay, so it's been Shark Week. And when the shark comes to bite...
How many different seasons of years?
Oh, dude, we're like at season 30. I remember when it first came out.
What's new on Shark Week?
Dude, I found out a really horrible fact. So, so the migration patterns of great white sharks and aggressive sharks like bull sharks and tiger sharks is changing as a result of the currents and, whatever global shift in temperatures is happening. Uh-huh. And I found out, Tony, so there's the top 3 states for shark attacks are as follows.
Why are you pointing at me like that?
Because you're going to be shocked. I don't know why I'm pointing at you. One is, number 3 was Massachusetts.
Wow.
Shocking, right? Massachusetts has a lot. I don't want to quote numbers, but Massachusetts was number 3 for shark attacks.
Great white sharks?
Great white sharks are migrating up there more than ever.
Huh.
Number 2 was North Carolina.
I had heard something about North Carolina.
Guess what the number 1...
New York.
No.
Well,
number
how are they
1...
going to Massachusetts and not...
Colder waters? I don't know, brother.
Huh.
Halibut. The number 1 state for shark attacks is fucking Florida.
Yeah, I could see that. That's not new information.
That is not what I needed to hear, brother. That is not what I needed to hear.
Do you go into the water?
Every time I go to the beach, like once a month. try to get to the water, try to dip my toe in, try to enjoy. Honestly,
Do they put signs up? Like,
dude, the last time I was in the Florida beach,
they wait for somebody to get eaten and then they put
a sign up. Yes, exactly. The last time I was in the Florida water, I remember going in and thinking how beautiful it was that there weren't crabs, because that's what you have to worry about at the Jersey Shore.
Pinching your feet.
Dude, I've been fucking sliced up a few times by crabs. Yes. Yes. And then every clamshell you step on after that is a crab. So
Don't you just got to stay away from the seals to stay away from the sharks? Don't they follow the seals?
Great point, Tony. Are you sure you haven't been watching?
No, I haven't. But I spent some time in South Africa, and I remember that being a thing.
Yes.
Because there, you get eaten by a shark, they just, say, don't go 20 feet that direction. Stay over here.
Right.
They're not really into
South Africa and Australia, based on my Shark Week intake, are like other worlds.
Yeah.
When it comes to sharks. Yeah. So I'm not going to complain too much. But anyway, it was.
So did this chef remind you of Shark Week? How did we get into this?
Yes, dude. Yes, exactly. Because the fucking chef was such a fucking maniac, dude, that when anger like rushed over his body, you could tell. Because I was going to say, like when a shark comes up to bite, they like their eyes roll back and like there's like a film that covers their eyes so that it protects them, right, from whatever they're biting. Bro, this guy's eyes were like fucking great white shark eyes. Like when I would come back with whatever, hey, this Asabuco is cold in the center. The fucking film over his eyes. And bro, it was scary. It was scary. You could hear him from the kitchen out in the dining room.
All right.
So one time there was an issue with the steak, and I pulled the server aside and said, yo, look, this is mine and your little secret. I'm just going to ring in a steak. And we're going to pretend, instead of this whole fucking CSI ops thing with the ticket and the dupe and the rewriting and the seat number and all this shit, you're just going to ring up a steak. Just ring up a brand new one. And then I'll go back there and say somebody additional came to the table.
That's a good one.
Oh, dude, we're gaming the system to try to figure out how to not get yelled at.
Right. Just to try to make the diner happy.
Just to try to make the diner happy. Just get through the shift, right?
Because their cook fucked up the steak.
So the server goes over, rings up a steak, and I'm like opening a bottle of wine in the dining room, and I hear this guy go, somebody get me fucking Caitlin, like yelling. And I'm like, oh no.
Caitlin was the
one I told to just ring up the steak and not say anything. And the chef, this maniac, figured out what the fuck is going on here and blah, blah, blah.
You can't figure out how to get the steaks out right in the first place, but he knows all the games to work around the issues.
Yes, because he's like a fucking...
That's where you should put your time and attention.
Yes, he's like an Ernst & Young auditor when it comes to the fucking, you know what I mean? But he can't get a fucking mid-rare steak, tax income statement now. Anyway, so, dude, this poor... And she was like a woman. She was like 40, like a professional server. And she got fucking reamed out. And I'm watching from the dining room as he's like showing he's like, I already sent this fucking table out. What's going on? And she's like, oh, somebody added to... He's like, what do you mean? Seat 4? And he like...
I was, the first thing I thought was the seat number. Like, you did not cover your tracks. You did not cover your tracks.
And bro, the whole time I'm opening a bottle of wine and I'm just like, God, dude, don't tell on me. Don't tell on me. Don't tell her it was me. Don't tell her it was me. And then he fucking shark-eyed me. And I'm like, she fucking told on me. And then, of course, later on, at the end of the evening, I'm the one getting the cold shoulder. And she was crying in the dining room. there was no way to win.
How did what eventually happened with this table? Do you
I'm
remember?
sure. No, I don't. I remember blacking out for the rest of the shift
Total fear.
and just being like, fuck. Of course.
Those kinds of behaviors. I'm hopeful they're something of a thing of the past. That kind of like super amped up, aggressive. Like, let's just come on.
We're all working together to
Right.
make sure that everybody just.
Now, a wait staff that continuously messes things up is a different story. But this sounds like I know this archetype of person.
Yes, of course.
Right? It's very
And
standard.
there were a lot of them out there.
Yes.
There were a lot of them out there. So anyway, the delegation has spoken. I feel like.
What was that one
Do
again?
you have any others? It's if the back of the house themselves would come and take care of complaints about food.
No, I think
That would be really nice. That would do a lot for
wouldn't-
front of house, back of house
that would
relations.
just add to the issues. I think what the thing was understand that we're all here for ultimately the same purpose. It's to make sure that you get your tips. So let's just work towards that common goal to make sure you don't get your shoes dirty and that you can leave the second your table is clocked at done with a nice fat wad of cash. That's what we're here for, right?
Right. Yeah, and so you can, figure out your 18th iteration of beef sauce that you want to make because the Japanese one wasn't good enough, and then
I joke. The
Italian one wasn't good enough.
The goal is to satisfy the diner, to have a good service,
The goal is really to high five at the end of the shift
Right.
over some Jamesons and a couple cigarettes.
Sure.
That's really the goal.
Yeah. Did you
Everybody
ever high five
feels
with the chef?
fulfilled. Dude, honestly, I have to say, I was lucky enough that I worked in mostly restaurants where everybody got along really well.
That's great.
There was one restaurant where that wasn't quite the case. Yeah, one restaurant. And look, I was always, especially,
Well, you were managing many of these restaurants.
I was managing, so
you were able to.
I could toe the line.
Yeah.
The other thing that was particularly special in my case was I became the de facto immigration lawyer for half of the back of the house.
Not expect that.
Well, dude, look. So every single back of the houser, when orientation was given, right? They're like, "This is how you punch in. This is where you get your towels. That guy over there in the suit, he speaks Spanish. So anything you need, he can help you with." And that was it. That was orientation for most of the back of the housers. So, if Manny in the back of the house had any issues, whether it was clock in, clock outs, or I can't work this, whatever, it was always, I was the one handling that shit. So as a result of that, the back of the house, in many cases, needed me.
It's where you got them on your side.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
I was able to kind of.
That's good. It's worthwhile.
What else? I can think of something from the front of the house that we could do that I think would show solidarity. But is there anything else you can think of?
I thought that once a month, maybe the front of house could get together and buy a nice family meal.
That's a really good idea.
Just, it could be pizza and Caesar salads, something like that. Take a little bit of the heat off the kitchen, whoever's in charge of family meal that day, then they could all sit together, have a little bit of a moment.
Bro, what a beautiful idea.
Thank you.
That's nice. And dude, I love that one.
Cool.
I love that one because even if it's like tacos from the local taqueria or whatever.
Somewhere, close and easy, inexpensive,
But where like you said, everybody can sit down. Nobody's worried about like who's doing staff meal.
Right.
And it's like a thank you.
yeah.
I already hear all the bitching from the front of the house. I think that's a beautiful idea.
the front of the house?
Well, yeah, because now I can already hear it like, well, how about the people that only work on Mondays and Tuesdays? Are they going to throw up, throw out some money to like help and like, and
What about
who's
this
picking it up?
$210 a day that's taken out of my paycheck from staff meals.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying it's not a complex issue,
And look-
but I'm sure that we could figure it out.
That's a good one because I remember I remember that my way of buying people's affection in the back of the house, besides like being respectful and courteous and nice and all that shit, was the banh mi's. At
bringing in some banh mi's?
Yeah, I would often just buy. You remember that place you could buy 4, you get for the 5th one free? Yeah. And back then they were like $4.
Yeah.
So I would just go buy like 20 of them. And everybody gets a half. Everybody.
That's nice. Yeah.
And it was nice.
We used to do things like that on like a Saturday. I'd bring in something like that.
Exactly. Exactly. I had one. That's a great one. I had one that I thought that I actually noticed was a huge winner in the diplomacy wars.
Where'd you notice this?
At the Capitol Grill in Philadelphia. I always had the worst side work because I was the newbie and I was young. My side work was called quat. Clean and quat. So there is a quat, like some sort of solvent chemical that. So here's, you'd have to wait until the entire dining room was finished, so that the kitchen would take all their prepped stuff, wipe down, and go downstairs. And then your job as the quat side work guy was, number one, take all the mats, pick them up, and then take them out back. And there's shit that you just never, like you're like, is that a wadded up fucking filet mignon bite? Or like tuna from earlier today's prep? Like just all kinds of nasty shit, salad, and whole eggs.
I was wanting to make clogs that had that
shape and size.
That shape on, like you could like nail them to the bottom of your clogs or something like that. The mat.
Oh right, so that you wouldn't have to actually have these mats on the floor. They're disgusting. And bro, the shit-eating grin that I would see across.
How many of these mats were there in the side station?
8.
8?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because it went into salad area.
Okay.
So you do the whole like prep area.
Pick them up. You do the thing where you like.
So you have to take them out back.
Tamp it on the ground.
Smack them.
Yeah.
And then put them in a pile, and then the dishwashers, and then would spray them down and put them back in the restaurant.
Okay, so you don't have to do you just had to carry them outside.
Right.
I'm not saying it's any.
No.
It's just.
Well, that's step 1.
Okay.
Step 1. Step 2 was to sweep. Step 3 was to create the quat solution, which was like a sanitizer with some Clorox.
Did it stand for something?
And a bunch of hot water. It was like, it was fucking hot. It was disgusting.
Clorox bleach?
Yeah. Clorox.
Hot water?
Hot water. And this like
that
blue
evaporates at
solvent.
like, bleach evaporates at like 95 degrees or something. So that didn't do anything.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Supposed to use cold water.
I just did what I was told, Tony. I did what I was told.
Just surprised that a big organization like that had that on there.
Well, and then lastly, you'd have to take these huge tubs of water, which were like, like the big stock ones, and evenly spread it out across the floors so that it would soak in. Then you'd have to get like these huge fucking squeegees and squeegee all of the shit into the drains. And so that was.
Then did you have to clean the drains?
No, thank God. I didn't even know that was
somebody else's job.
I can't imagine. But bro,
I'm surprised they would make somebody in the front of the house do that.
Well, I did this for like the
so
entirety of
So you did get some
back
of the house.
Oh, bro,
experience.
Like just the look of satisfaction of seeing somebody in a bow tie take the fucking mats out. Like these people were just ear to ear grinning, watching me like try to pull the mats out.
And how did you feel when you
in
finally
like
moved
dress
off
shoes,
this?
dude, like slipping and sliding, and they fucking loved it. They loved it, and I thought it was just that's what I got to do. But I could just see how happy they were. They fucking loved it. So you know what I did?
What?
In future iterations of side work, iterations, in future iterations of side work that involved the food runners, I didn't have them do the quat and the wipe downs and all that, but I'd have them pull mats. And the fucking back of the house loved that. Huh. It was some hard work, some blue collar effort that I think speaks to the
Dirty.
back of the house.
It was dirty. You guys are already doing hard work, but it's dirty.
It's dirty.
Yeah. All right.
So I feel like, having the front of the house pull mats, even a simple gesture like that, and even maybe like, front of the house takes plenty of trash out. So I'm not going to say that they,
They gotta like clean. They gotta do a lot of cleaning and stuff with their own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we get these done and we will have solved.
The delegation has just one last thing.
Oh, here we go.
And this would be, I think, but this would help. This would help, I think, with maybe even international front of house, back house relations. We obviously, the front of the house, we don't understand strawberries.
What?
Have you ever peeled a strawberry?
We're talking. What's going on?
The back of the house has never peeled a strawberry for the front of the house.
Oh, you would like the back of the house to peel a strawberry?
Well, it's because we don't
recently?
understand strawberries. Well, obviously we don't understand strawberries because if you've never put a strawberry,
Who was this said this most recently? You were telling me this story earlier.
Mr. Jose Andres.
Right.
And the front of the house would really love to understand strawberries, Tony.
So you're asking us
I'm asking the back of the house
to peel strawberries for the front of the house.
so we can understand.
I think you've just unraveled all of the goodwill that was brought forth in this episode. It's all dead and gone now. We're going right back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Stay salty, my friends.
Talk to you next time.